Hello, everyone. This is ABOTA President Jeff Adelman. I'm here with Mitch Chester, and we're here to provide you with some news about what is happening at the Broward County Civil Circuit Court. We had a very informative discussion with about 30 people, including 5 judges, on Friday, and we were able to make some headway as to how to move our cases during these very strange times with COVID-19. Mitch, thanks so much for all your help with this.
Thank you, Jeff, and thanks for the support of ABOTA for Lauderdale. Right now, we're getting ready for beta testing tomorrow, Monday, March 23rd, with one of the judges in Broward Circuit Civil Division. That beta test will cover things like how to work with Zoom, and all in an effort to embrace the technology to provide a continuity of legal services in the era of COVID-19. The beta test was something that was agreed to last Friday when we had a conference with about 29 people, 5 of whom were circuit court judges, 1 from the family division, the rest from the civil division. And as a result of that conference, we decided to go ahead and try to integrate into the court system video conferences, which have tremendous advantages over just audio calls like with court call and so forth. So, Jeff, I was really excited about the results last Friday. What are your thoughts about what happened on Friday?
Well, I think there was a lot of common sense being discussed, and it wasn't just from the lawyers. The judges really seemed to want to move the cases. In particular, Judge Carol Lisa Phillips talked about being very open to doing Zoom, but there was some limitation on licenses. And one of the things I thought was especially good, which was your idea, was to have the person who is scheduling the hearing initiate the Zoom conference and have opposing counsel on the line 15 minutes before the hearing, and that will make sure that it goes on time and we don't waste a lot of time. So I thought that was a very productive thing. But we talked about some of the limitations as well. One of the ones that particularly was concerning is bandwidth. As most of you have probably experienced at home, internet's been a little wonky since we've all been holed up in our homes. So that's something that, hopefully will not interfere with the Zoom conferences. I don't think it will, but it's something that, I think more and more will be discussed. But what particular importance I thought was the ability to swear witnesses in remotely, and the order coming from the Supreme Court allowing a notary to do so. I mean, I thought that was huge, Mitch.
Well, it's really exciting because the Supreme Court issued an administrative order on March 18th, which directly dealt with the swearing of witnesses. For example, notaries and other persons that are qualified to administer an oath in the state of Florida are now allowed to swear a witness remotely by audio-visual communications tech, just like Zoom, from a location within the state of Florida, provided that they can positively identify the person who's being sworn. But they also thought one step further, which is great. If a witness is not located in the state of Florida, a witness may consent to being put on oath or under oath via, let's say, a service like Zoom by a qualified person qualified to administer oath in the state of Florida. So the Supreme Court has made it a lot easier. Many of us have depositions of witnesses that are, of course, within the state, but also outside the state. So that paved the way to fulfilling the Supreme Court's directive to the chief judges, hey, embrace technology, and this is one way to do it. I thought that was a great thing. So, go ahead, Jeff.
Absolutely. And like you said, we had, 29 people on that Zoom call. So while we're not there yet, I see the potential to do motion calendar on Zoom and just everybody getting logged in and waiting just like you would if you were waiting in the courtroom. I certainly could see that happening if this becomes a long-term thing. And again, you and I are just trying to get out ahead of it because while I wish I was optimistic, I don't think this is going away in 2 weeks. I don't know how long this is going to take. And in the interests of justice, if we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, the public's going to suffer. And when you don't have an ability to get justice, well, again, that's what our whole country is based on.
Well, we've got the technology now to do this. You know, many years ago, we would never have had even the thought that we could do something like this. With jury selection and jury trials being suspended, both criminal and civil, from at least March 16th through April 17, at least temporarily April 17, we've got to find and create our new normal. And it gives ABOTA, it gives the membership, it gives the non-membership, everyone an opportunity to have a hand in what that new normal is like. The vision is that a judge could go from email to email, click on that email, be part of a Zoom conference, conclude the hearing, click on another one, and start it right away, almost seamlessly. And what we're going to try to do is integrate not only the judicial assistants, the JAs, into the scheduling process, but the in-court clerks and the court reporters into the Zoom conference scenario, so that court reporters can take down what is said when they're ordered, so that the in-court clerks know the rulings of the judge, so they can go ahead, the judges can go ahead to the next conference and make it easy. And since there are juries that have been suspended through at least April 17, the judges have more time to maybe space out. You talked about the bandwidth problem. Maybe space out motion calendar to different times of the day so that they're not all using the same bandwidth at the same time. The idea here is that for the judges, they could work out of their homes and they don't have to go to the courthouse, and they may not be allowed to go to the courthouse depending on how restrictive the rules become, but we can still create a continuity of moving cases along. So, Jeff, one of the things that came up also was the idea of submitting motions and dispensing with live hearings, even by video. That was raised by one of the members, Diana Santa Maria,
yes,
of ABOTA. So, talk about that if you would, please.
Well, you know, in these times, we want to be able to move the cases, but if it's a routine type of matter, that the case law is the case law. If you submit the motions and both sides would consent to having it dealt with that way, I mean, I don't know about you, but I always like presenting to a judge. However, in these times, in order to get a ruling, you send the motions to the judge, and the judge looks at everything and can make the ruling. Yes, it might take away some of the actual hearing part of it, where you actually give an oral argument. However, there probably is a lot of waste in there anyway, and I'm sure you've seen it when you go to the motion calendars like I do, Mitch. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is pretty clear-cut, and the judges can make rulings on it. For some of those things, that is a very good option, I believe.
Well, the temporary order issued by Chief Judge Jack Tudor that came out I think this past Friday, allows parties to stipulate to the matter being determined based solely on the submission of written memoranda. Any stipulation like that requires an agreement filed with the clerk, signed by everybody. But I think that's a good way to dispense with hearings that really don't have to happen, where they take up the judge's time other than to read it, and he or she can focus on significant issues, perhaps, just to give you an example, motions to compel that could be resolved with a written submission as opposed to taking up the judge's time. The whole purpose is, as we get into this technology, as the judges become familiar with it, as the lawyers become comfortable with it, we want to make sure that hearings take place on the ones that need to. There was some talk about just starting out with special set hearings and then trying to move into the motion calendar, the more populated hearings that we have in the mornings. So I don't know about you, but I'm comfortable with starting out with special sets, showing the efficacy of this type of process, and then moving on to motion calendars, depending on what judges want to do it.
I think the ease of doing it is going to surprise a lot of people, and once people get comfortable with it, I believe that motion calendar, after this crisis ends, it may continue like this. And quite frankly, we've talked about the environmental issues and other types of logistics of getting to court for a 5-minute hearing. And it really is kind of a waste of attorney resources. It's a waste of gas, so many different things. And I'm not going to say it's a silver lining, but it is something that will probably be a positive benefit to clients and attorneys alike in terms of amount of money having to be paid to lawyers, and also the stress level on lawyers getting to hearings in I-95 traffic.
You mean there's stress from the highway? Okay.
I know. I mean, I won't have to leave my house and get to Fort Lauderdale from Coral Springs at 7:15 in the morning and wait at a bagel shop before it's time to go over.
Right.
So, well, I mean, that's what I do currently.
You know, during this period, you have a number of cases that are already on calendars, and people are wondering, well, what about my calendar call? ABOTA, a long time ago, years ago, had promoted the idea on its old website about e-calendar calls, and that started to happen in Palm Beach Circuit Court. Judge Manu Sasser, before she passed, was employing that type of calendar call quite a bit. I understand another judge or other judges up in that area are doing the same thing. There's no reason why we can't have e-calendar calls as long as the judges in their individual divisions feel comfortable with it, and I think that's something that could help sort out what happens to these cases that are being continued because the courthouse is closed. And so that's another advantage of using the internet. Don't have to use Zoom for that, but using the internet to interact with the court. You state your reasons: I'm ready, I'm not ready, and then the judge can make a ruling about who's number one, who's number two, etc. We do see some judges that are using updates by email on the status of calendars after calendar calls, which is phenomenal. And so I think Judge Frank's office is doing that. His JA is doing a wonderful job in that regard. So there's a lot of really good things that can be done besides Zoom. But the thing I like about Zoom is that lawyers can show exhibits to the judge, and the judge can take control of the screen and say, I want you to look at this and tell me what you mean by that. So there's a lot of interactivity where it's not just one person that's controlling the screen. It can be interactive among all the participants. You think that's helpful, Jeff? Oh,
I think that it's very helpful. And again, it's going to take some getting used to, but on the ABOTAFTL.org website, you've put some videos on the website that show some instruction about Zoom, and really the only way to get better at it is to practice. And one of the things, in order to practice, you have to have the right equipment to do this. I mean, again, if this is going to be a regular part of your practice, which I would assume if you're listening to this that you're a litigation attorney, there are some things that you can invest in right now that are not incredibly expensive, that will make sure that your sound clear and that you are able to use them on a regular basis. And one of the things I was talking about was that Samsung Mobile Go mic that I have. It's like $30 on Amazon, so that you have a good microphone, making sure that you have a good webcam. I think that's extremely important, and making sure all of your equipment works. And that's something that you and I are definitely wanting to provide to our members and to the lawyers in general. If you have questions about what type of equipment you need or anything like that, you should definitely reach out to us, because we want to make sure that this works, and we want to make sure that it's as smooth as possible, because I know that it's going to be a big change, but our livelihoods depend on it, and our clients are depending on us to do right by them.
And I think the clients are going to expect this kind of technology to be integrated into everyone's law practice, whether it's for COVID-19 or even after hurricanes, when buildings are closed and so forth. We did put on our website a page that deals with the 17th Judicial Circuit and the video hearing initiative that we started. And on one of the pages, there is a link to the division requirements. This is essential, especially with regard to this very fluid situation. And that is that not every judge participated, obviously, Friday. I do expect that more judges will express interest and want to experiment like we're doing starting tomorrow with regard to how to use Zoom effectively in their process. And by the way, we're not getting any compensation from Zoom. It's just that the IT people in the Broward Circuit Court have said their preferred method is Zoom. But I think it's very important, not only for the secretaries and the paralegals, but the lawyers to understand now more than ever the specific division requirements of each judge. For example, there's a possibility that certain language will be required on notices of hearings, or even in certificates of service that maybe even the Supreme Court didn't think about when you have a hearing that is by video. So we have to keep up, and as judges literally could change this day by day, their requirements. It's another way to keep up with having hearings and not being turned down because we didn't follow some requirement. We have placed on our website at the bottom of that one page a question: what ideas and feedback do you have about remote video conferencing for civil division hearings? We welcome everyone's feedback, but I'll tell you, whether you're a plaintiff's lawyer or defense lawyer, or you're both at one time or another, you're going to have clients that are going to say, are you video conferencing ready? Are you equipped? And that could make a difference between someone these days that's considering hiring you or hiring your competition. And obviously we want everybody to have the opportunity to say, yes, I'm ready. For example, it's not just an idea that's popped up here. I read today's Sunday, the 22nd of March. I just read that in Britain, divorces are going to be conducted by video conference. So you can have evidentiary hearings in the future here once we perfect the system. You can have non-jury trials once judges decide that they want to experiment with that. There's an awful lot of things that can be done to communicate. So under the circumstances, I think we're on the right track. We're going to try to perfect it during the next week. And so I'm just very, very excited that ABOTA is being so helpful in regard to this effort, and the judges as well. They really are showing a great deal of enthusiasm, and we do not want to let them down. I think this technology will work.
I agree. And in addition to that, I've used it for answering interrogatories with my clients. And again, you have to remember, we're talking about the business aspect and performing our jobs. This isolation that we're all dealing with right now, the lack of being able to be face-to-face with a person. There's something about looking at a person while you're talking, even if it's your friends. I called my parents the other day on FaceTime, and they got to see their grandkids. And, I'm doing that with some of my friends because it's really it's doing a number on all of our psyche. I know that because I'm feeling it myself. But being able to do this is going to give comfort to your clients as well. And I think that it'll give you some sense of normalcy during this abnormal period of time. I can't say enough about it. I started using Zoom in January just because of my broadcasting endeavors, and I was playing around with it. I had no idea that I was going to be using it for something like this quickly.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate your time today. We'll put all this on the web. COVID-19 is not going to slow down our system appreciably. We're going to get around the impediments that are being caused by the virus. We're going to be stronger on the other end. And the legal profession, I think, is going to be excited in general about the use of technology. It's green. It cuts down on greenhouse gas emissions as we do less driving, but also it's much more efficient if it's done right. And then, you can never replace being in front of a judge when you want to be in front of a judge. But until we're allowed to be in front of a judge and before the judges are allowed to get back in that courthouse and have normal operations, this is the next best thing. And actually, I think that the legal profession will be a lot stronger by embracing this technology. So I want to thank you very much.
Oh, and Mitch, I can't thank you enough for your efforts. If anyone needs to get in touch with me, my email address is jeff@adelmanlawyers.com. That's ADELMAN lawyers.com. And I can always be reached on my cell phone at 954-478-1997. Mitch, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
My email address is mchester@mitchellchester.com, 2 L's in Mitchell. That's the best way to reach me. And I don't care what time you write, what day of the week or weekend you write. This is an emergency situation. We need to embrace it, and we need to get moving as quickly as possible. And for those of you that are not in Broward County, that are in Miami-Dade or Palm Beach County, let us know what your courts are doing, the 11th Judicial Circuit, the 15th. Let us know what the appellate courts are doing. These are ideas that can be traded and examples set so that every court can embrace this if they decide to do that. I think we're off to a good start. I know we are. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mitch. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. We're here for you. We're not just here for Broward County. We're here for everybody throughout the state. I'm Jeff Adelman for ABOTA, Fort Lauderdale. Be well, everyone.